welcome to Yoga Nidra with Hilary Jackendoff. Hi, Hilary.
Hi, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you all for being here, whoever's here live. And if you're here on recording, even if it's 3 years later and you're like, I need help getting some sleep. I know this is not our normal time for class if you are here live. Usually we get together on Wednesdays a little bit earlier. But come on in, say hi.
Oh, is that because of me? Because I have a client on Wednesday nights?
That's right.
It's me. Sorry, guys.
So I want to start by introducing Hilary a little bit. I'm going to tell you her entire life story, and then she's going to teach us a bit about Yoga Nidra, and then she's going to guide us into meditation. And you can actually be laying down for that part, which I'm very excited for. The class is going to end and you're going to be like, so David, do you want to say anything? And I'm just going to be snoring. Couple quick announcements if you are here live. We also have class July 8th with me, and July 10th, I am doing what's called my first Metadate class. So it's going to be a kind of like a meditation and then speed dating. And you don't have to worry about like actually meeting someone or anything like that. It's really just to kind of have some practice and learn some tools. So if you want to come play, that's going to be July 10th. It's a Friday night from 8 to 10 Pacific time, which could be kind of late. Maybe I need to change that. I might change that to 7 Pacific or a little earlier. Let's see. I might have to change that time. And then Sunday, July 12th, we have a class too. But anyway, all right, let's jump in, Hilary. So me and Hilary used to teach together in Los Angeles at a studio in person when things still happened in person. And now here we are, this is what we do. And but we are very good friends. In fact, we went hiking recently together. And basically what happened was I was running up the mountain, you know, I don't think I broke a sweat. Hilary was way down the hill. I was like, come on. And she just, I don't know, to bring it up right now. We're going to meditate. If I freeze a little, tell me, I apologize. So Hilary has, Hilary has incredible experience as a meditation teacher. She teaches teacher trainings, Yoga Nidra. Where did you lived in Australia? You lived in an ashram. You're technically a tantric yoga meditation teacher, which we can get into. You finished the Bihar School of Yoga. You've got a pretty long rap sheet. I won't bore everyone with it all night long, but can you just tell us before we jump in a little bit about what tantric meditation is and what Yoga Nidra meditation is?
Yeah. So when I use the term tantric yoga or tantric yogic meditation, generally what I'm referring to, just for clarity, definitely nothing to do with kind of what's known as neo-tantra, the sexy stuff. That's not for me. Keep it decidedly unsexy. But what I mean by tantric yogic meditation or tantric yoga, these practices, these tools work heavily with the subtle body. These practices are working very, very intensely with the subconscious mind, with the unconscious mind. Oftentimes there's inclusion of visualization. Sometimes there is inclusion of mantra. So we're kind of, a lot of these tools of tantric yoga also kind of bypass the thinking mind entirely and get you right up in there in the subconscious and kind of do an incredible job of quieting the thinking mind. So these practices, especially Yoga Nidra is very beginner friendly, and tends to have quite a strong effect on the thinking mind in that it renders it obsolete. Shuts it right down. But that's kind of, you know, part of what excites me about sharing practices from the tantric yogic tradition because the thinking mind is such an obstacle for so many of us. And many of these tools very quickly shift the energy from our mind either into our body or into our heart. So it's a really powerful way to work with the mind without working very hard.
And Yoga Nidra, which is what we're going to be diving into tonight. I constantly make fun of you for Yoga Nidra only because I don't quite fully know what it is. I just call it sleepy time yoga. Can you share a little bit about what it is?
Yeah, I love that video you posted in Sedona.
What did I post?
Oh, right.
Oh,
memory.
Sorry. Side note: Hilary always makes fun of my memory and says I can't remember any conversations that we've had previously.
You can't. For a meditation teacher, where's that gray matter, David? Get it. What's happening with your hippocampus? So Yoga Nidra.
If you look into my, sorry, can I just say, if you look to my brain for my hippocampus, you'll just find a jelly bean. So I think that might be the issue.
I think that is the issue. You had a hippocampus transplant. So Yoga Nidra, in short, and believe me, I can enlong it. I talk about Yoga Nidra ad nauseum. It is a very beginner friendly, but very, very powerful meditative practice with its roots in the tantric yogic tradition. The technique that we'll be using this evening is kind of more of a Western friendly technique as developed by the Bihar School of Yoga, which is the primary lineage that I pull from in my teaching. But
where is the Bihar School of Yoga? Is that from India?
Yeah, it's in Bihar, in Munger. But yeah, so there's a lot of different Yoga Nidra techniques from various yogic lineages. All are very effective. All will get you to where you're seeking to go through this practice. They just kind of have different entry points. So I tend to work with the Bihar School of Yoga's technique, not just because that's where I trained, because I've also studied other lineages, but because it's the most Western friendly, because it's the most beginner friendly, and really kind of gives you the good stuff without any prior experience. So the state of Yoga Nidra is different from the technique. So tonight we practice the technique of Yoga Nidra, the meditation technique, in order that we might possibly, effortlessly, through grace, drop into the state of consciousness that is Yoga Nidra. And that state of consciousness is awareness in deep sleep. And that's where you kind of lose most people when you say awareness in deep sleep, because that means absolutely nothing unless we've had an embodied experience of it. So with this concept of awareness in deep sleep, you know, a lot of teachers kind of are really strong around maintaining awareness, maintaining wakefulness during Yoga Nidra. And I kind of have a little bit of a looser tendency there, because sleep, restedness, is kind of the foundation on which we build the rest of our health. And it's the foundation on which, you know, we're not going to attain enlightenment if we are not well rested. You know, we have a lot of other things to worry about before we can get to enlightenment. So most of us are not very well rested. I am a lifelong insomniac, so I understand this really, really, really very keenly, which is why I am such a permissive Yoga Nidra teacher, because there is nothing worse than dealing with insomnia and then dropping into a yogic sleep meditation and the teacher yells at you about staying awake.
So was that happening to you, where all the other students in the ashram falling asleep and you were just laying there awake going, I'm an insomniac, this isn't working?
Well, So I kind of, at the ashram, it was a little like, you know, I did go through periods of profound insomnia at the ashram, where I actually couldn't practice yoga nidra in a group setting. I had to practice in my room by myself because the energy of the other people would affect my subtle body so much so that I couldn't relax at all. But in general, like the Bihar School of Yoga in particular, if you listen to any recordings, they'll say things like, no sleeping, like in the middle of the recording, no sleeping, please.
Oh, wow,
Stay
it's intense.
awake. It's super intense. So I had teachers, you know, and I had recordings that I would practice to, and teachers at the ashram who would throw down that kind of language. And it always just stressed me out. And I'm like, I'm here to restore. So I definitely kind of give permission to people to let the practice meet them where they are. So if you do fall asleep, it's not a problem. That's not what the state of consciousness is. It's not just a meditation to put you to sleep. In fact, it is a meditation to bring you to the most profound levels of awareness.
Can we talk about just briefly kind of those in Indian philosophy, so those 4 different states of consciousness and awareness, so we can kind of give that, you know, that map of where you're coming from? Is that part of the teaching that's in your lineage?
I mean, that's part of the teachings around Yoga Nidra
Okay.
across the
So
board.
general.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the waking state, dreaming state, deep sleep, and Turiya. And Yoga Nidra, the practice of Yoga Nidra, the technique is intended to guide you into Turiya.
So can you describe a little bit what that 4th state, Turiya, what that means?
Well, it literally translates to the 4th, which is
Doesn't
cool.
say much.
Cool. But in the state of Turiya, or in the state of Yoga Nidra, the body and the mind are asleep. So you're not even necessarily, there's varied experiences, but in general, a lot of times you're not even receiving any sensory data whatsoever. So it's a very deep state of pratyahara, sensory withdrawal. And as the body and the mind are asleep, there is full awareness present, which it's very, you know, it's kind of like a taste of, it's kind of a taste of enlightenment, right? Because we realize that we are in full awareness, but in total, in a state beyond the body and a state beyond the mind. So who are we? What are we? Where are we? And it's this kind of little mini bite of enlightenment that you get in this practice. But the wild thing is you can't really get there through skill. And you can't really know what it is unless you've had it. So when you're kind of trying to talk about it, it's like, you know, all of the wisdom traditions, all of the mystical traditions speak about the ineffability of the mystical experience, that it's indescribable. And that is very much the case with this, in my opinion and experience.
So with those 4 states, so just to clarify, so we all experience the 2 states you know, most people dream, right? So the first state is just the consciousness we're in now, the waking state. The second is the dream state. And then the third is the deep sleep state, which is not something we, I guess, really experience, but this would be, Yoga Nidra would be experiencing the deep sleep state, which sounds almost like paradoxical.
Yeah.
So how could you be unconscious and awake at the same time? And then from that, it follows, I suppose, that like in a real deep sleep state, but you're awake, you're not having thoughts. Would that be accurate?
Yeah. There's
okay.
there's really no activity of the thinking mind. Like, you know, normally when you have, I mean, this is kind of the best I can do to explain it. It's really just best experience through experience. You know, when you're meditating and you have that moment where you're like, I stopped thinking. And then you're like, shit, that was a thought.
Mm-hmm.
That does, and then that brings you out of it, right? that doesn't bring you out of Yoga Nidra. Does that make any sense?
You kind of stay in the state.
Like you have that awareness, but that awareness, and you don't always, oh God, there's so much I want to say, but we have to do the practice. You don't really know, don't necessarily know that you're there when you're there, but you know that you're there when you've returned. And there's kind of like different gradients of the depth of experience. But it's very powerful and it's very easy. And over time, it will help enormously with deepening the quality of your sleep. It will, it can kind of have a really profound effect on just your feelings of restedness during the day, as well as during, as well as in the morning. Like your sleep cycle will deepen. Yeah.
So do you suggest, so we're going to do a meditation here in a few minutes, Yoga Nidra meditation. Do you suggest your students to do this style of meditation every night before they go to sleep? And so not only is it like getting them to sleep, but it's also like a spiritual practice. It's almost like a 2-for-1.
So I only suggest it for people as like a sleep meditation if there's difficulties with sleep.
Okay.
If there's no
Otherwise, they're doing it while they're awake, even in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day is amazing. When the circadian rhythms dip down and you get that kind of midday crash, a Yoga Nidra is just the ticket to reset you, rebalance you, refresh you, and you'll experience those benefits of deeper sleep at night as well.
Very cool. And by the way, if any of you who are here live, if you have any questions for Hilary at any point, feel free to write them in the box. I'm learning right alongside you about Yoga Nidra, even though I've taken Hilary's class before, but I fell asleep, but it was really good. I had a great time. And and then there was a couple times Hilary trains meditation teachers, meditators to become a couple of her trained good conversations. But this is really the first time I'm getting into Yoga Nidra with you and what it is. For some reason, it's always been so elusive to me. And oh, by the way, so just last night, if you're here live, me and Hilary released an episode of the Grounded Sleep podcast, and she guided it. So yeah,
it's true.
Hilary twice in 2 nights, which is pretty neat. And I listened to it. It was so good. So before we do go in, can you share maybe a few of the benefits of a Yoga Nidra practice and maybe kind of the structure that you teach your students to do it in? Is there like a certain amount of time? Is it daily? And then like what kind of benefits do they see? I know sometimes we back away from giving so much structure, but in the beginning, it's always nice to kind of get some.
Yeah. So benefits, besides enlightenment,
Other than that, yeah.
And besides improved sleep quality, Yoga Nidra will help with chronic fatigue, chronic pain. It will help with any issue that you're experiencing around anxiety. It's a known complementary alternative therapy for PTSD. Not all teachers guide it in a trauma-informed way. I have to say that up front, but it is, it really creates a feeling of being at home in your body. It creates neural pathways, like strengthens the neural pathways. So you're getting this body-brain connect. And just that in of itself can be very healing for someone who's experienced trauma. Oh God, I mean, I could go on all day, David. This is a mess. Don't do this to me.
What problems do you have? I've got solutions.
I've got this. I'm a Yoga Nidra snake oil saleswoman. Like that's how I feel sometimes because it's so good.
I believe that, so me and Hilary both teach on Insight Timer, the app, and I think Yoga Nidra is literally the most popular meditation on the app out of all the millions of people using it. I think most of us, including me sometimes, have a hard time falling asleep. Like,
Yeah.
holy cow, there's so much freaking input throughout the day. It's like the momentum in our mind gets going,
Yeah.
and then slowing that down is like trying to get off a crack or something.
It's a lot. And it's, you know, and
Yeah.
the like quickest way to describe the benefits of yoga nidra, it's a practice that gives you an embodied experience of what it feels like to let go of the tensions in your body, mind, and heart. I've said that a few times, clearly, but that is what it is. It's a practice of letting go. It shows you, you know, through the practice what it feels like to completely let go.
And when you teach your students yoga nidra, are you suggesting they do it every day or twice a day? Is it like transcendental meditation where it's once in the morning and once in the afternoon?
If you can practice every day, amazing. You'll probably want to practice every day. That's the cool thing about this practice, is it makes meditation a pleasure. Not saying what you do isn't a pleasure, David. But
My meditations are like pulling teeth. Ugh.
yeah, ugh, who wants
Ugh.
it?
Ugh.
Yoga nidra is like tasty, tasty mac and cheese with like spiritual cauliflower stirred in.
Vegan.
You don't even
Gluten-free
taste.
mac and cheese.
You don't even know that you're like getting these dope spiritual benefits, but you are. So there you go.
Awesome. I love that. Okay, so should everyone be in bed or laying down or hanging from a tree branch? What are we doing?
Would really suck. But lying down either in bed or on the floor with some support underneath of your knees and some support underneath of your head. If it's chilly, you'll want a blanket covering you or a sheet. If the air conditioning is on in your space, you might want to make sure that you're not lying directly under a vent, or make sure that your air conditioning is off for the meditation. Make sure that your phone's on do not disturb or on airplane mode if you haven't already done that. And that's it, basically. We'll keep ourselves muted after the call in case anybody's asleep. And I will be here to answer any questions that you have after the meditation. Practice will be about 25 minutes, thereabouts, 20 minutes. Try to keep it. Are we keeping it tight in the 45 time frame?
I mean, whatever you need. Yeah.
All right. Well, we might go a little over if that is okay for you. I feel like you'll like it if we go a little over, my friends.
Awesome.
So there we go. Let's get into it.
All right, I'm laying down too.
Do it.
Do this.
Get yourself all cozied up. I'm gonna mute you, David. David's gone.